Defending is so difficult in FC24. But I'm a pro FC player and I'm here to help you out. I'm going to give you 3 basic tips that will 100% improve your defensive game. Tip number 1 is a pretty basic one, but it's vital that you jockey when defending. If you're just sprinting around with your defenders, then you'll notice how slowly they change direction. Well, this is where jockey comes in, as it allows you to move your defender with more control and speed. There's 2 ways that you can do this. A normal jockey or a sprint jockey. So, to do a normal jockey, all you need to do is hold L2. This will slow your player down and get him in a position where it's much easier to make the tackle. Now, the sprint jockey is exactly the same, but you also need to hold R2 at the same time. This will jockey in the same way, but your player will move much quicker. Then, all you have to do at the same time is move your left analog stick in the direction you want your player to move. So, you basically want to use this as much as you can whilst defending, especially when you want to change direction. The only time we'd advise against using this is when you need to sprint, track back, or run next to a player. There's a couple of scenarios you can use this to massively improve your defending. Firstly, if you're defending in the middle with your central midfielders, then try using sprint jockey to shuffle side to side to block any passing lanes. You'll either intercept the pass and win the ball back like this, or you'll block the lane to the striker and your opponent will be forced to play wide like this. Secondly, you want to use this when an attacker is running at you. Hold sprint jockey and move your left analog stick backwards if you want to jockey back, or sideways to mirror the movement of your opponent. Then, as soon as you see them take a heavy touch, you can move towards your opponent and win the ball. Lastly, it's really good to use when defending in wide areas. So many times your opponent is running down the wing, and 9 times out of 10 they're going to pass back or cut inside. If you're in this position, you need to be sprinting alongside them to start with. And when you see them about to cut inside or pass, hold L2 to slow your defender down and anticipate their movement. This works if the attacker cuts in like this and you can make the tackle. Or if they try to pass the ball inside like this, you can intercept the pass. The second tip is to always try and maintain your shape. This isn't exactly a tip where you need to press a specific button, but it's about being precise with your defensive movements and keeping your defense in a solid shape. It doesn't matter what formation you're playing, but you always want to keep a solid back line like this. There's obviously times where this changes, but you need to get back into shape as quickly as possible. We see so many players pull a player out of position and leave a huge gap in defense, and then it's so easy for your opponent to exploit that space in behind. It's okay to be aggressive with your defenders and press the ball. However, when you realise you can't make a tackle, it's important to put your player back into position. During a game, this mainly happens in 2 scenarios. Firstly, when you bring your centre back out to press the opposing striker or attacking midfielder. In this scenario here, you'll see we press the ball, but once the attacker turns back and we can't make the tackle, we'll stop pressing and return the centre back to the back line. Secondly, when you're pressing a winger with your fullback, as soon as the winger gets the ball, you obviously want to press in case they turn and run at you. But if they pass backwards or sideways, then you need to stop pressing and return the fullback to his defensive position, in case they try and play the ball over the top and in behind you. If this video is helping you, drop a like, subscribe, and let's get on to part 3. Now for the last tip, tackling. We see a lot of players try tackling by just jockeying into a player. This works sometimes, but it's actually way more reliable to press the tackle button. There's a few different tackling mechanics you need to learn for this, so let's get into them. First of all, we have the stand tackle, which you simply perform by pressing circle. Secondly, you can do a power tackle. Do this by holding R1 and pressing circle for a much more powerful tackle. Then we have the slide tackle, which you can perform by pressing square. And as you can probably guess, the power slide tackle, which you can perform by holding R1 and square. Now, there's a few scenarios in every game where you should be looking to use these. First of all, when inside the box, we wouldn't recommend using these, as there's a higher chance of giving a penalty away. 9 times out of 10 you can just jockey to block a shot without even having to press the tackle button, unless you need to make a really last ditch tackle, which we'll come on to in a minute. So, if you're in a position where your opponent is dribbling towards you whilst you're jockeying, then most of the time the attacker will try and sprint or dribble past you. This is the perfect time to use that stand tackle to step in and win the ball. You can usually judge this from when you're about 2 or 3 paces away from the opponent, and you've just seen them take a touch. At this point the ball will be away from their feet and give you time to make the tackle. Now, if you're in this position and you want to be 100% sure that the ball is won, that's when we'd use the power tackle to put more strength in and make sure we win that ball. The slide tackle is also really effective this year, and there's a few times where you need to be using it. We all know there's nothing more satisfying than a last ditch slide tackle, and if used at the right moment, this can be super helpful. When your opponent is in an attacking position and they have no other option but to shoot, this is where to hit that big slide tackle. If they take the shot, you close down the angle and make the tackle. But if they don't, they now have to turn back or they're in a position where they can't score. You can also use a slide tackle in other areas of the pitch. Like we said before about using the stand tackle when you're 2 or 3 paces away from an opponent, the slide can be used when you're slightly further away but you can see your opponent has took a heavy touch. This works best when you're controlling a player that comes in from a side angle, especially along the touchline, as your opponent will have nowhere to go. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, as we'll be giving you more pro tips throughout EAFC 24, including this video on the 4 best tactics you can use. Go and check it out.